So let me go back a little bit. You're talking about the feet, and I will agree with you. I have tons of guys that have either Achilles pain or calf pain postseason, and they'll come to me. And what will I do? Well, I'm also a licensed acupuncturist, right? So I know the fascia trains, whatever, like whatever you want to call it. I know a ton of that.
Yep.
And what I've seen links between is whether it's channels or fascia or actual musculature. I mean, it starts with the feet. So I had a marathoner come in yesterday where calf pain, extreme calf pain, bilateral, more on one side than the other. First thing I did was I just worked on one foot. Said one foot, let's just do this, see if this foot improves, if this calf improves just from that. And I didn't touch the calf once. Did some tibialis anterior work, hit muscles in between the toes. Then I also did some plantar fascial needling, and then I did also abductor hallucis, and I hit them both with stim. I hit everything with stim.
A
And
needle and stem.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I
And
went I went to Chinese medical school.
oh, get out of
And
here.
yeah, at Pacific College Oriental Medicine. I did it for 1 year because I didn't want to be an acupuncturist, but I wanted to
When did you
understand.
do that?
I was like 2004, 5,
Okay.
something like that. And what I did was I don't go into curriculum just, okay, what do I do? I go into everything with, all right, give me just an idea, frame of reference, and now I'm going to do a little exploration into it. I'm not
Mhm.
just going to do the thing. Like when I
Mhm.
pick up a book, I just open it and I just start leafing through to give me a reference of the big picture so I can go drill into the things I want to drill into. I can ignore the stuff I don't think is useful. And I can tell you that my Eastern understanding is 100% congruent with my Western understanding, because you can call it a tomato and you could call it a tomato and you could call it a pomodoro. You could call it whatever you want. It's still a tomato, right? It tastes the same. I don't care what you call it, right? Let's agree that we call it something so we all can have a common reference. That's a tomato. No, it's a tomato. Okay, it's a fucking tomato. No, it's a tomato. It's the same thing. So with the Eastern stuff, you get clues into the energetics of the movement, the integration of the movement. If a fly alights and lands on your body, it sets everything into motion.
Mhm.
Sensitivity is the awareness. I got into Feldenkrais way back in those 2005, 6, 7 years. And I did a Feldenkrais professional training program too. And so what I did at the acupuncture school was the founder of the school, one of them, taught Oriental Medicine 101. It was the best class that I ever took there. Nothing else even compared to it. So I just trailed him at his clinic. And he was a guy who learned acupuncture from a guy who used to, sharpen the needle on his leather shoe,
Yeah.
lick it and stick it in. So it very laissez-faire. I did everything in that clinic except insert needles. Like I'm doing gua sha, I'm doing cupping, old-fashioned cupping. You dip the cotton in the alcohol, you put it in, you boom, sink. I was doing that on a patient. He would tell me, and so you're thrust into a learning environment, and then you see his tendencies. All right, this person comes in with this complaint. What does he do? We always treated the back shoe points, and he did liver packs with the castor oil all the time. Those are like the most frequent things. Is he's treating the back shoe points that relate to the organs that and you got the back shoe points that hit every one of them,
Mhm.
right? That bladder meridian, you come down twice, pack that back. You know, it's it helps you understand the intent with far more nuance than the Western approach, which
So
is more
for
mechanistic.
now, when I was in acupuncture school, my first year, I had an understanding, and I'm a thinker, right? Like I ruminate and I think and I think and I think, and my understanding from year one to year two to year three, and then the understanding that I gained from having to study for my board exams and passing my board exams was next level. And then after that,
Yeah.
the application.
Yeah,
So,
that's where, yeah, you really learn when you start doing, right?
yes.
And
So,
what I also noticed is a lot of people in that program, the academic standards are nothing compared to Williams College.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and a lot of the teachers, I wouldn't go get acupuncture from them. I didn't feel like they knew it, right? And these are teachers, and I I try to find the highest level people that I possibly can. And I have a friend, Kyle Shinners, who when he does acupuncture on me, he's on my pulse. Okay. Then he'll hit a needle. He'll take my pulse again. He'll adjust the needle, put another needle, and I'll get electric shocks in my body when he's doing it. When I do it with someone else, I don't feel anything happening other than just a little pinch of a needle. You don't even really get the dull ache where it's like, oh shit, we really hit it, you know? So I think as much synthesis as we can possibly muster and accumulate, the more we can connect dots to create deeper understanding. So
Mhm.
I'm very interested in fight, flight, response ability. Flight is objective. Faster is faster. Go fuck yourself. Okay. Dumbo flies with a feather. I don't care. If you take the feather away, he ain't flying. If he has the feather, he's flying. Well, guess what? I don't give a shit as long as he's flying. Right? Points on the board at the end of the game. That is all that matters. Because a long time ago, I don't care you're a nice guy. You didn't catch the rabbit, so your family now starves. I don't give a shit you're nice, right? I don't give a shit anything, right? You didn't bring home the bacon, right? You can't protect. You can't provide. What the fuck are you doing procreating? Right? Like, why? Why? And in the modern world of technology and convenience, you don't need physical integrity to be a millionaire and do something, cure cancer. I mean, you can walk around in pain and not do it well, and it makes no difference in terms of most people's lives. But it does make a difference that's only positive when you attain it. So, and the fact is it's so simple. It's just the knowledge that it's head over foot, coiling core, spinal engine, fullest integration, biggest differentiation from longest to strongest. You have a destination where you have your absolute maximum strength, where you have structural integrity, that if the force is overwhelming, you can protect your center. Okay, so even if I can't beat you by overpowering you, I can be more sensitive, allow you to do something. You can't even interpret what I'm doing because I'm just so much more subtle than you. And that's why I could beat up a guy who's stronger than me, unless he's, unless he's a real fighter, because I'm not Mr. Badass or anything, but I'm tough. And I like to test it. And as long as we respect the tap, I mean, just I quit. Don't damage me, just beat me. And my philosophy on pain is if it doesn't relate to damage, I don't care. Right. So I can manage pain. Damage is what I don't want. So even my hip replacement, I'm probably one of, if not the fastest recoveries from hip replacement ever. I don't know if you followed the saga, but I'm like 29 days post-op right now. Nobody would ever know that I had a surgery, and I got off the recovery table and jogged in the hospital like on the first day, because all I got to do is catch my weight on the right foot. That's got, balance and power. Then I just position myself and I put it down. So there's no impact and it's perfectly balanced. And then I just shift over to the one that has it. I give it a giddy up, I catch it, recover, giddy up, catch it, recover. And so I can run around with a replaced hip that has no range of motion, swollen up like, the size of a grapefruit. And like I can't even put shit in my pocket. The swelling is so bad. Like it's just pinched in. And and it's just because I know how to move my body. And what's really funny too is that I could do, I guess, relatively impressive feats of strength. Like I could Zercher 600 up. I could drag 1,000 pounds on a sled. And it's because I know how to wedge my body in. But 3 weeks ago, when I squeezed my quad muscle, maybe a month ago, when I squeezed my quad, It was like a Pillsbury Doughboy. Like I'm squeezing the muscle in my quad as hard as I can, and it's soft and smushy. I'm like, holy shit, I am so weak. It is ridiculous. I have certain strong parts, like my torso is strong, but my limbs are so pathetically weak. And the investment in allowing them to get so weak is what gave me the capacity to find the efficiency, because I need the efficiency, right? Because I'm not strong and I'm not in shape. But if I am perfectly balanced, I'll hang with you for 5 minutes, and I don't care you're good at. I got a first step that'll beat your first step, even if you're better than me, right? I got first step. Because you balance means you can go to the next position now. That's what balance means. There's absolutely no struggle because it's perfect. Just like a tiger, just like our ancestors. When calories are precious, you're not doing burpees, you're not banging on rubber tires with a sledgehammer, you're chopping wood. You're chopping down something to build a structure. There's always an outward purpose for what I'm doing, and I'm not ruminating about like, oh, what does the science say? Oh, no, we got to eat. We got to do it for real now, right? There's a fire over there. Oh, let me foam roll. They didn't foam roll during D-Day, and if they did, we'd be speaking German, okay? You pussies. You know what I mean? It's just the absurdity. Okay, it's not quite as absurd as what's happening in the world, but we have the capacity to make the greatest change because it's essentially free, head over foot and rope flow. If you just did those two things, head over foot for the rest of your life, rope flow just to proficiency with 4 patterns, and you never have to touch it again. If you hate it, fucking hold your nose and take the medicine and do your thing until you can do it, right? And now you're integrated. Now you're wireless. Now you know. When I studied Wing Chun in New York City when I was 26 years old, the instruction was so terrible that I learned absolutely nothing, but I read the books and I got the principles. Wing Chun, you move forward. If you contact, you maintain contact. If it's overpowering, you let it go. The fourth, you keep moving forward, right? The little girl can, beat the big guy if she's invisible and can get to a vital point on his body before he can smash her, right? That's the theory, right? And I knew nothing. Tansao, Bansao. Okay, where am I? I don't know, right? And you're not going with a guy who even knows what he's doing. So you're just fighting and you're not getting better. And when I picked up the rope and the staff, I was like, oh, the tools are the teachers. That's why they don't let you touch the tools for 10 years, because you're going to be subservient. You're going to be ooky. And the master's not going to give you the transmission yet, because he knows you 2 years of rope flow and head over foot, you beat the hell out of the master. You know, like you're bigger, you're younger, you're stronger, right? Like, I don't care, your little whatever, right? This is for real. This is for real. You get a Tai Chi master who's never, ever done hard. A 2-year MMA guy will throttle that guy. You have to go through hard to earn soft, because you still have to win when you don't know. And when you don't know, you have to resort to strength and overpowering. But when you do know, it's just appropriate. It's whatever you got. I got 100% of it, and I got 100% of it right now. That gives me a huge advantage, right? I don't have to punch you harder if I get there first. You know what I'm saying? If we trade punches and I get to hit you and you don't get to hit me, well, then I'm probably going to beat you. And fight is subjective, because A can beat B and B can beat C, but C beats A. So who's better? Styles make fights. My master's better than yours. We'll never, ever agree. But a race, foot race, that's objective. So we have two sides of the same coin, fight, flight. That's the fundamental reflexes that we're all eat or be eaten. The nocioception is the greatest motivation to recoil from pain. That's what it is. When they're little amoebas, right, and they're just wiggling around trying to absorb the other one. This guy got wiggle to get away. This guy got a wiggle to go get him. And if you wiggle enough, you get that Piscean strategy. And if you're in fluid, you're buoyant. You don't have the gravitational force. All you need to do is just wiggle. And that's how fish swim. A shark has to go way down to come up and breach and get out of the water. A dolphin can bing, bing, thing. A dolphin can beat a shark because he's just going to flank him and then smash him in his gills and knock him out. And if a shark ain't swimming, he's dying. So his shark can't sit there. Shark got to move all the time. That's how they filter their air or their oxygen, right? So the mammalian strategy, you could look at it as stems from Piscean. Like amphibian, you got to now, you're still building on this mainframe of just this, but now you got to prop yourself up, which gives you the figure eight. And the figure eight is the spinal engine. So now when you go mammalian, you're creating more sagittal potential, creating more vertical potential. You need to be warm-blooded because the metabolism to prop yourself up, the paleo diet is the lizard that lays on a hot rock for a month and then gets a cricket when it happens to come by, right? That's the true paleo diet, cold-blooded, because you're laying on your belly. But as soon as you go mammalian, you get advantages that now you can go up the trees and you can do all sorts of things, especially
hold on. So talk to me about the figure eight and the mammalian. How did that come together?
Okay, so basically, if you have a soft cardinal, on the way to cartilage, you go fluid, cartilage, bone, essentially, in terms of, density of tissue, the differentiation of the tissues. So you can say that in the scientific studies, what they do is they do this a million times. And what happens is it starts to develop a segmented ossification. So it's nodes of hard connected in between by nodes of soft. So you have the vertebrae and you have the disc, the vertebrae, the disc, the vertebrae, the disc. And that is a very efficient mechanical thing that is better than all soft or better than all hard. It's the yin and yang. And if we're acupuncturists, I like to say yang with the glottal stop. I don't like to say yang. I don't like that. I like yang because I care. And parlez-vous français? You American. Come on, show some respect. You imbecile. So the amphibian, you're on the mainframe of this, but now I'm on land. And now there's a gravitational burden that I can't just do this. I won't go anywhere. I have to prop one up and make progress at no cost. So if I brace my core and prop myself up and just use my limbs, he's so inefficient, it's ridiculous. But when I have that eight, it never stops and it moves fluid. And you get these underhand eights, you get the overhand eights. Overhand eight is throwing, underhand is locomotion.
So you're teaching fluidity. You're teaching a concept of fluidity so they can transfer the whip
yes
to locomotion.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. What we're essentially doing is we're teaching you how to take every nanometer out of, there's no slack in the system. So on the long side, where you're spiraling and rotating is creating the greatest internal range of rotation. So if I have an external range where I'm reaching long or up, internally, that's not as long as if I spiral it. So and I can go extremely deep into the nuanced detail of how you operate your fingers. Unfortunately, your fingers are part of your body. All right. I could rope your middle finger and drag you down the road. I mean, even when the bone dislocates, you got soft tissue is going to last for a while. You know what I mean? As you drag on the road, your finger's still part of you. And what you do with the finger, like the ballet hand is only complete when the middle finger is low like that. That's the line in ballet. And you are not complete as a ballerina or a ballayer unless you understand that. It's not this, it's that. And CoreFist, pericardium. The castle, right? The king's castle is the pericardium. Why? Because the heart is the king. That's why. And it's there, structure. Now I take the triple warmer. The triple warmer is really, it's an imaginary organ. No, it's not. It's all the fascia. It's the connection of the whole thing is the triple warmer, the Jiao. That's what it is. And anatomically, I can't flip the fourth finger.
So you think the Jiao Do you think it's a communicator to all fascia? Or
Yes,
what do you?
correct. It is the unifier of all fascia. So if your job is fluidity, where you're going to funnel the force fluidly through the fascia to the floor, through the feet, notice the alliteration of the F's, force, freedom, fluidity. Yeah, that's all what we teach because it's just balance. If I can balance, I can be 100% productive. If I can't balance, I have compensation. Some of it is protective and the rest can be productive. So you never reach that catalytic come together integration that now you're stronger immediately without having to be stronger, you're stronger. So
Where
Chris,
where did you learn? Where did you learn the Sanjiao as the connector to everything?
I've purchased 2 books recently. One of them is that thick, and I say recently, within the last like 3-4 years. A book this thick dedicated to the
To the
triple
yeah,
to
the
the
Sanjiao.
triple energizer, they call it.
Yeah.
So in that book, I got a lot of clues, right? That and then anatomically, what happens is the fourth finger structurally, this extensor here does not reach the fourth finger. So I can raise my pinky, I can raise the middle, I can raise the index, I could flip the thumb, but I can't flip the fourth. And what that does is when you take the intent of the force of the fourth, if it's the middle, it takes me off the line because I'm here. And if it's extending, it goes off. But if I can't do that and I make that the intent, it funnels to my center. So if I can take force and funnel it to my center, and my center is at that perfect position where I am at my structurally most integrity possible of that structure through my bones. So even if you can overpower me, you're not getting my center. You're not going to be able to pick me up and slam me because that's how I would lose. Bigger guy, if he can grab me and pick me up, well, I'm biting his neck at that point. You know.
Well, the Sanjiao one is right at the nail,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But because the fascia doesn't connect there, isn't that like, doesn't that mean that the fascia, the Sanjiao, isn't the connecting part to everything? It's like a missing part?
That's an interesting way to look at it. I think it's essentially the same thing. And I would say that what you gain from the Eastern understanding is the energetics, not
Yeah.
just the mechanical structure. So the Western viewpoint would mechanistically look at, okay, what are these individual muscles doing? You know, blah, blah, blah. Whereas it's just the big picture in the Eastern stuff,
Totally.
right?
And the Sanjiao and pericardium, if I'm not mistaken, those were added on to the amalgam, to the whole, I don't even know what to call it, the system, not until hundreds of years, like thousands of years later, right? They were late additions. They
I,
were
I
they were
don't
more Maoist.
I don't know the history.
Okay.
I've not been privy to anything about that.
Okay.
Um, I think it's interesting because pericardium is the yin and triple warmer's the yang.
Mhm.
So it's sort of the relationship of these two. When you understand how to overlap, we create the potential to triangulate. And why a triangle is so important is that's longitudinal force transmission through the DIP joint. So this last, part of the phalange and the next part, that segment have to be in line if I want to create an indestructible structure of a triangle. When I ball a fist, these things get damaged and each bone is on its own. You're not triangulating. It's not as sharp.
Talk to me about this. Go in depth about that. I want to understand that better.
So basically, what I was doing was I was doing a wind and whip exercise where I whip it out and I capture it. And I was thinking like, okay, pericardium is going to get enveloped by air and blood, and large intestine, triple energizer are enveloping. So I'm taking this as the center and I'm saying air, blood, and it takes guts, small intestine to do it. Especially when you're the first guy to zig and everybody's zagging. You got to have balls. You got to get stones. You got to, well, actually, I don't think you actually need balls because it's true, right? I mean, this is three beans that grow, right? And I was speaking with this guy, Keegan Smith, who was instrumental in Ben Patrick's knees over toes ATG system. Keegan was the guy who helped shepherd Ben from obscurity to legend, carve Ben's head on something, because you don't, at his age, you do not increase your vertical jump that much. Nobody's ever done that. Nobody has waited till after 30 to dunk. Okay. Like if you can't dunk in your 20s, the odds that you will dunk in your 30s are zero. Right. So Ben Patrick defied the rules. But anyway, this guy Keegan is one of these guys who wants to study everything. And we talked yesterday, and he's like, you know, I got to admit that when I first saw your work about 6 years ago, I didn't understand it. And I was already succeeding with, you know, West Side and Charles Poliquin, you know, I was getting athletes stronger. And I didn't understand that. And, you know, didn't have time for it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and then Tim Sheaf, who's a parkour world champion, so he can move real well. And I made him move better, helped him move better. He taught Keegan the ropes. And then instantly Keegan was like, oh my God, this is the missing thing. He's like, this is it. I've never found anything more directly at foundation than your work. And he's like, we need to share this with thousands and thousands of coaches, because the coaches are the conduit to the people. And once we achieve critical mass, when enough cool kids in the class have no choice, then it will reach a tipping point where now you'll be ostracized if you don't do my work. Whereas today you'll be ostracized if you do like my work, you're ostracized in the peer review community. Oh, Weck, he's a charlatan. Oh yeah, that guy's a product guy, blah, blah, blah. And that's, you know, that's the preconceived notion and the righteous indignation that they feel toward me. Like, oh, that guy is, you know, he's, you know, he's making healthy athletes weaker. He's pretending, oh, they're doing circus tricks. Like there's standard insults that have sort of become these little nodes of the playbook of peer review is to negate anything you say because what you say is anecdotal. So you have no choice but to do us because we have peer reviewed it. We've published it. It's been reviewed. Now it's the science, and that's what it is. So that's the circumstance. And I know with 100% certainty that we get them all. Every single person in fitness has no choice now but to teach gait as a balanced, systemic, fundamental function that's the bridge to everything else. So if you go swim, you walk to the swimming pool. You go squat, you walk to squat rack. You ride a horse, you go walk to that. You walk off the horse. So walking is the bridge to everything else. And you'll take more steps in your life than you'll do just about anything but like breathing and blinking. I don't know. You might even take more steps than blinks. I don't know. It depends how active you are. So it's ubiquitous in somebody's life. The ability to get yourself from here to there, what could be more important than that? And now if you're going to build strength on a foundation that doesn't move you with efficiency, well, now you're, you know, building strength on dysfunction. And that's peer review's cardinal sin.
Well, let me ask you this then, in regards to dysfunction. I can feel some of the things that you're saying in regards to you first off, you hopping out of bed and jogging with fucking fresh sutures. I was like, bro, the fuck is wrong with you? But
it's great marketing. It's amazing marketing.
But
I can't tell you how many followers and big names now. Big names are like, hey, I got to get my hip replaced. You know, who should I go see?
But I can almost appreciate the perspective of, well, we need to move one way or another. How are we going to best move? And to efficiently move, like, hey, I can't use my right leg, so I'll do everything, all the balancing, this, so on and so forth, on my left, and then gracefully touch the ground and then catch myself again.
That's what I've been doing for the past month.
right?
Is
But isn't
I
that
have my
isn't
I
that loading isn't that adding load to dysfunction?
no, no, not at all.
How?
Your your number one objective when you get your hip replaced is to put clean force through that skeleton and the little, hardware that's in you now. That's pretty solid, once you're in. So you don't want to be doing, depth jumps or something, but what you want to do is every time that that replaced side is on the ground, you want perfect transmission of force. And that way you can go to one side where it's secure and strong, and then you can set up the next step where you just position it. And you can sequence that close together, and nobody could tell that you're even hurt.
So, perfect transmission of force. What do
Yes.
you mean by that? Because you
What I mean,
so what I'm gathering is, man, you got a million and one fucking thoughts, and you've read through all this stuff and connected the dots, and instead of going A B C D E F G, you just give us Z,
yeah, I
right?
can.
So
That's
so
why I've got a team that, makes it easier. Yeah. But
so
what
tell me perfect transmission of force. What do you mean?
I just mean that it's moving like a tiger. There's no compensatory tension. There's nothing that gets hot. It's just it sends through. And so what you have to do is that has to harness the strength of the skeleton. If you don't have the strength of the skeleton, you're not strong.
But
You're a
but
blob.
the skeleton is held together through by the way, do you know who John F. Barnes is?
No.
John F. Barnes is, I think he was considered at one point the father of fascia. In the
Oh,
70s, he was talking about fascia, and what his belief was that there was no difference between fascia, muscle, and even bone, that it was all fascia, and it was just different tensegrities and different densities of fascia,
that's
right?
one. Yeah, that's one way to look at it because of the ubiquitous nature of the fascia. So
Yes.
everything is surrounded and separated by the fascial sheath or the fascial bag. And this goes down to every actin, myosin filament is sheathed in fascia, right?
So you say it's the tensegrity of the skeleton, or it's the structure of the skeleton, but the skeleton is still held together
Yes.
by fascia, by
Yes.
all these different structures that are
Yes.
supporting it, that were just fucked up and need time to recover, though. Like the skeleton, just it's not just bone on bone and bone on cartilage. Like there's
No, it's
still
floating.
things.
It's suspended and it's floating. The tibia is not stomping on or the femur is
Yeah.
not stomping on the tibia. It's a coefficient where it's tensegrity and it's floating. The frictional coefficient is through suspension. It's not, you're just not bone on bone.
Mhm.
And the fascia, what I like to think of, it's your bones and it's your nervous system. And where is the nervous system? The fascia is the neurally rich tissue. So it's the fascia that holds that nervous system awareness, control, perception. So when you're in an acute situation where the skeletal integrity is actually sound when you wake up, like the thing is anchored in enough and the bone hasn't fused with the hardware yet, and it's going to take time, so don't go too hard on it. But don't walk in a walker with your head in the middle hobbling around, because then your body is never clean. It's out of balance and you're using your hands. So what you have to do is you have to create your own structural integrity that through the bones on that surgical side, you could still send the force clean. And now the tissues, your body is remodeling at every instant. An astronaut who goes in the air, they start deossifying instantly, but you can only measure the differential over time. Everything is happening, right? It's happening. It's now. It's now. It wasn't then. It's now.
I can
So
understand and appreciate that too, but like again, you have a foreign object in your that was just placed in there. You don't think that there's an appropriate like just down period. Now that
no,
and
I
you don't
don't.
want
They want
any
you. They
you
want you walking. Okay, they're gonna
yes.
make you get up. If you say I don't want to get up, they're gonna make you get up because you're gonna have fluid in your lungs if you don't.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
book is that?
So this is what I was just looking for. This is called
Okay.
Healing is Voltage by Jerry Tennant.
Yeah, there you
Um,
go. We use PEMF guided therapy and we create miracle recoveries because the electric body, the magnetic body.
have you read this?
Yeah, well, no, I haven't read that one, but I've read Body Electric a long time ago, where
Yeah.
you cut off the tail of a salamander or whatever, and
Yes.
it's the electrical signals. Yeah.
And that's stored in the fascia. It's said that the stem cells and all that is stored in the fascia. You should check out this book. You'll
Okay, great.
fucking love
Well,
it.
just text me the book when after the call,
You
and then
got it.
I'll pick it up.
It's so interesting to hear your perspective on just the locomotion. And I agree with you. I agree with you. You say it doesn't start from the ground up, but it starts from the center of mass. You need to send it back
No, it
down.
starts from the head.
It starts from the so you think it starts from the head. So
It
tell me how
starts
it
from the
starts from the
top.
head.
Well, it's the highest point. So and if where your head goes, your body goes. That's like Marshall principle. Where the head goes, the body goes. And so what happens is if I can effectively move without moving, and that means my body's moving, putting me in the perfect potential that when I do drop, it's has integrity. It's an instant transmission. So it goes down and it comes up at the same time, right? So when your foot's on the ground, there's boom, that load, right? That the foot is on the ground and you're sending the force. And so if I take my head and I just shift the head, it coils the core. And now the nervous system is able to orchestrate clean force where you're not getting tired. You have the joint angles aligned in a manner where you don't have any one spot that's getting tired. If you were going to hold a lunge, most people are going to get real tired pretty quickly. We can do a lunge where I'll stay there for a minute. I'll stay perfectly still for a minute. And then when you say go, I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like I'm poised to pounce and I'm not getting tired. So I can
I
wait 2 minutes.
so there's talk of lately there's been talk of fascia being like the key for a lot of things, and an elite coach had said the job of the muscle is to put the bones in optimal positions to utilize the rebound from the fascia. And
Yes.
the elastic energy of the fascia is never ending, so you will never get fatigued.
In theory, I mean, there is a metabolic cost. So even perfect, can't be sustained at a certain level for too long. So that's just, the
Mhm.
physiology, of the material. But you can make the meat puppet perfect. You can do it. And it has to go route through the skeleton. And it has to have longitudinal force that goes clean. And you can feel this distinctly. And the reason why Chris Chambers, so moving without moving is my center gets to stay the same, but I have changed which leg I can go on. And once I'm on one side, I can lift both feet without changing. So if I hover right here, if you're a Marine and you're going in to clear the building, it's coil, you're on it, it's same side stride. And when I'm on a same side stride, I have no vertical displacement. So if I'm here, I can make that weapon go perfectly. It's like on a turret. But if I'm, doing this, that's not going to work, right? If I'm in the middle, it's not going to work. I have to be here and go same side stride. That means I can lift either foot. It doesn't matter. There's no change in my center of mass for the change in the base.
You
That
you
is,
ever see the owl go in the circles and its head stays in the same spot? You ever?
yeah, right, exactly. I mean, coordination, right? And so what we have to do is we have to set ourselves up from above to deliver below. And it has to have that integrity, meaning if you took a snapshot, the person is in position and it's balanced, meaning they don't have to move, but they can move. And unless you do, if you don't deliver perfect, you cannot express perfect. It's impossible by definition. If something's lighting up hot because it ain't systemic and it's not fluid, because the real function of the muscles is fluid pressure. So when you watch a really good athlete who's fast running and they got their shirt off and you see their back, you'll see ripples of just fluid force. It's not the muscle going ink, it's sending this hydraulic boom. And the muscle doesn't have to do this. That's tiring. There's waste, right? You get sore, it's inefficient, right? You want boom, 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 boom. Bo Jackson's better than Brian Bosworth because Bo Jackson didn't have to build his muscles. So if you have to build your muscles, odds are you're going to be a little bit more bound up than the guy who's bigger than you and didn't have to lift weights. He's a tiger, right? The other guy looks like a tiger, but he's not quite the tiger.
So how you think you need to build muscles still?
Oh God, yes. Bigger's stronger's better, bigger's better.
So how do you build muscle?
You do well. What I would say is that you can do volume work to build muscles, Weck methodizing it to make it systemic. So even a biceps curl can be routed to gait to this movement. And on my Instagram today, October 20, whatever, Keanu Soto, one of our coaches, he collabed with me on a post. It's a sequence of exercises where he's doing the landmine, he's doing other Weck methodized stuff, and he's one of them. He's doing a biceps curl, and so he's in the coil, right? He's in the coil, and he takes that and he goes out and he does the bicep, but it's 100% integrated to his core. It's not just a bicep. I'm not just building one muscle. I'm building one muscle tied into everything. That's how I get strong.
And why does the coil, why is this position, why does that connect it?
Okay,
Why
so
doesn't this connect it?
oh yeah, because that's not you still have slack here. So there's slack in here like that. What you're doing is you're basically taking all of the slack out of one side, making it as long as it can be. So the instant I bring it back, it affects the other side.
Have you ever seen Eldoa stretches?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And so their postures, their positions are almost the exact opposite, where it's completely lengthened. So why wouldn't you do this instead of that? What is the difference between the two? Because the fascia is still lengthened here, but it's lengthened here as well.
What I would say is that what you're demonstrating is accessory work. It's not fundamental work. So fundamental work is routing it to the floor and sending it with no compensation, no inefficiency. That's what it is. And then if you want to, stretch your wrist or whatever, then yeah, do a wrist stretch, whatever, right? Or do some exercise that looks like that. I don't care, but it's not bad, but you're not developing any neural coordination. You're not integrating the hand and the core if you're just doing a stretch.
Why does this cause the integration?
Think of Fibonacci, right? Think of the Fibonacci spiral, right? So it's this like Nautilus shell kind of distribution. The human body is essentially segmented according to this. You could draw associations of the Fibonacci, divine ratio, golden ratio. That equates with the body. So in the distal extremity, we call it ringing. So the thumb and the fourth finger are the connection, and you spiral where the fourth finger chases the thumb, and it's infinitesimally infinite. So I'm trying right here, right? Pericardium 8, right? This is classical 0.8, and that's modern 0.8. So in my CoreFist for the internal, you go to original 8 and you triangulate to center. For the punching, you go to the old or the new 8 and you come here and you use the thumb, and that pushes it to the old 8. So we got the 8 and the 8, and we got the 8. So when I do this and I chase the thumb with the fourth finger, I can get every filament, every actin and myosin filament on its maximum length position. So when one end moves, the other end moves. There's no delay. If you try to pull the Jeep out of the mud, I got to take slack out of the chain. And the reason these guys are getting hurt is because there's slack. And so
but see, those are only the. I think that's the explanation for the extensors by stretching the extensors. But I mean, the lung meridian lung meridian, large intestine is kind of lateral, but I mean, lung meridian is right here. So you're technically shortening the lung meridian, not lengthening the lung meridian.
Well, but we bring on the other side. So you have external torsion where you're going thumb chases forth, and then you have
Okay.
thumb chases. So I can move without moving. I'm on this side. That's the longest I can possibly be on my right side. And then whoop, that's the most coiled I could possibly be on that side. And there's no slack, and it's the differential. I'm under it, I'm over it, I'm under it, it's heavy right here. That's not good. That I got it. That I got it.
Now,
And
what are your positions for the lower limbs then?
well, you can do angles with the feet. So, I mean, you can set up this position here. You can set up this position here. You can set up this. You can set up this. So you can arrange the feet in different ways, and then different hip stretch, different stretch for the quad. So you're able to pull and cycle through higher, more range of motion, more force, greater stride length. As long as the frequency is the same, which it can actually be faster if you go through a full range of motion and a not full range of motion. Because when you go full range of motion and the heel hits the butt, you get to pull a real short lever through. But if I got to drag this sort of halfway bent knee through the air, that's longer in terms of the time it's going to take for me to even do it. And then the head coils aside, and boom, I use all my body weight on the ipsilateral side. Sprinters are always taught, use the contralateral, hammer down, swing up, hammer down, swing up. Now you're not getting a jolt. You got the ipsilateral side giving you jolt with the force. That's how Deion Sanders does it. That's how Randy Moss. That's how Usain Bolt. That's how Christian Coleman. That's how you name a fast guy. Name a fast woman. I don't care. They're all doing the essence of what I teach, because what I teach is athletic intelligence that so many people are born with. If you look through human history, it's more natural to locomote with a stick than it is to locomote without a stick. If you're just looking at years and the amount of time people had to carry a stick everywhere, couldn't leave home without it, because you get eaten and you can't eat without the spear. It's very simple. And then rocks, and then ropes. And ropes leverage the capacity, tie everything together. All of a sudden, I got a bow and arrow. You know what I think the first bow was? I think they got some kind of elk or some kind of animal, and they got its tibia, and they were trying to pull that thing apart, and they got that ropey tendon, and he went like that. The bone is still fresh and wet. So he went like this, and he went twang, and he's like, give me the fibula. I'm going to get the tibia. Okay, here we go. We'll use that, and whoop, bang. Hey, there's a concept that works. Every other animal on the it'd be so empty without me. But we don't like him anymore. I'm in a dilemma. Like, how am I to like the music that I liked when I find out that the people who made that music might be on the other side, right? They might be playing for the wrong side now. Ooh, but I like the song. What do I do? I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one for me. I can't watch a Robert De Niro movie. Like, I can't do it. Just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't do it. You know, you killed the fucking Godfather 2 for me. Jesus Christ. Like, really? Really? I can watch one, and I used to like two, because 1 and 2 are sort of one and one, and can't watch the second half now.
You know,
The eyes of the opened, you can't forget. But talking about eyes, David, how much have you looked into sort of optometry
Huge,
and stuff like that? Yeah.
huge. So basically, your greatest potential position of your head to move your best is chin low, jut the jaw out, look through the tops of your eyes. This is your spine is longer, and you have more vertical potential. You have more control when your neck is strong, and you position your head with the chin down. If I position the chin up, I get a big curve here, and I can't transmit all this with that same balance if I'm here. Okay. Now, with the eyes, I did a deep exploration into eyes back in like 205, 206, around that time. Let me think. Yeah. And it's like all the way from 2005 to 2010, I was doing all these speed reading exercises, all these like eyeball exercises. I would set up like 100 Post-it notes numbered 1 to 100, and I would randomly put them on the ceiling and the walls and on the ceiling fan spinning. Okay. And I would lay in my bed and I'd go 3, 2, 1, and I'd open my eyes and I had to count the numbers as fast as I possibly could, randomly located, and the ceiling fan spinning. How fast can I get through 1 to 100? And I do that a lot. And I did just a ton of exploration. And I got to the point where I could speed read, and I read it. It was absolutely amazing. And it was also during a manic episode. So I think I was hopped up and, like, capable of more, but not sustainable.